What's up, everybody? So we're back out in the shop with another daily vlog, and guys, we are going to make the handle scales for this guy right here. So what I'm going to be doing is using a few different things. We are going to use some awesome blue, these are like a turquoisey blue vulcanized paper liners, and some canvas micarta. So we're going to put these together, and we're going to actually make the handle scales for this knife. Now we're not going to put these handle scales on this knife just yet. What I want to do is break down how I think through my handle scale material and how I put it together, and why sometimes I'll take and I'll cut the stuff out and I'll just put it together all on the knife, versus sometimes where I'll actually mount them together and then put them onto the knife as one piece. So we're going to break that down. That's what we're going to do in today's video. So let's go ahead, jump into it, talk about this stuff. Alright, so whenever I start trying to think through what I'm going to do here and how I'm going to make the handle scales, I start trying to think through, okay, how big am I going to need them? What colors are going to contrast real well with the colors that are on the actual knife itself. So with this, we did that real dark acid etch. So I want something that's going to be nice and bright to stand out between this and the handle scales. Now, of course, we're going to have different things that happen where the customers are going to want particular colors matched together on their handle scales. Like something like these right here. So you're going to have times when someone is looking for maybe orange liners on a knife that has black and orange handle scales, or they're just going to want something that is just simple red and black with no liners. So it's really going to kind of depend on what the person is looking for when it comes to the materials they want on their knives. Some people are going to want micarta. Some people are going to want G10 handle scales. Some people are going to want wood handle scales, whether it be a single layer of wood or multiple piece wood. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll give you a few examples. So for one, solid piece of wood, this is Purple Heart right there. So Purple Heart, these are just solid pieces of wood here. Then we have something more unique like this Black Palm right here. Really love working with this stuff. Then we're going to have times where someone wants stuff like this. This is laminated wood. So it's going to have multiple different layers, multiple different colors in it. Something like that. Or they're going to want micarta. Or they're going to want something like this. And this is layered G10. This is the same type of stuff that I used on the military inspired knife. So you got G10, micarta, canvas micarta, and they make a bunch of different micartas. You got Purple Heart, you've got more expensive, real unique wood with the purple or the Black Palm, and then you have these right here. Now this is Ember Glow is what they call this, but multiple layered wood itself. And then of course you're gonna have things like different liners. You're gonna have G10 liners. You're gonna have micarta liners. So give you an idea of that. This is actually micarta. It's just black micarta, and you'll have this. You'll have G10 version of this. This is 1/8 inch thick, and you can use this as a thick liner if you want to do that. You could do that. Now, you've got all kinds of different things that you can do whenever you're picking out your handle scale materials and when you're talking to your customers about what they want on there. This just gives you an idea. Of course, there's going to be a big difference between vulcanized paper liners, which these are really easy to work with. You can cut this with scissors. You're going to have your G10 liners. You'll probably need to either score and snap those or use something like my porta band saw. That's what I use to cut them. And then you're going to have things like the micarta liners that are a little bit thinner, and you can just cut these with the porta band saw as well. So you've got a lot of those options whenever it comes to different liners. You can do thinner pieces of wood. So let's say I wanted to do a real cool wood liner. I could actually cut this down into 1/8 inch strips and put this in between something like this and the steel so that I'd have Purple Heart liners. You can do so many different things. It really just depends on how much work you want to put into it and what you think is going to look aesthetically pleasing for you or your customers. Now, what I end up doing is I start thinking through, again, what's going to contrast. Me personally, I think that is going to be an awesome contrast, because whenever I get done shaping these scales, I will shape this a little bit more and then go ahead and acid etch the whole entire spine. Now, one of the things that I could do, I could make these, use a little bit of super glue, mount them to here, shape them, do all of that process, and then take them off and then glue them all back on once they're all done. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not at a point to where I like really doing that. I'm going to put them on here, shape everything, and then just go back and acid etch the entire spine and handle. You might think, well, wouldn't it be easier just to shape them and then glue them on all at once? Nope, not really. Because all I got to do once I get these mounted to here and I shape them is run a little bit of tape on the handle scales and then run a Q-tip with acid on the spine and everything. Takes me minutes. It's a very fast process, and it's actually a lot easier than doing it any other way. So that's what I'm going to do. But I've shown y'all on a few of the different videos that you can take this and do a bunch of different things. You can actually go ahead, cut out the handle scales, and then draw that shape onto this material, cut this out, do a rough shape, and then you can actually mount them all together at once. Or you can do something like what I'm going to do with this right here, and I'm going to just cut the rectangles out. I'll show you right now. So we're just going to take and get a rough size shape. Right there. Do another one. Now, these are slightly bigger. These pieces right here are slightly bigger than the handle scales, only because it makes it a lot easier to position it whenever you go to epoxy it together. But we'll take this, take just a good pair of heavy-duty scissors, cut right on the line. There we go. So now we've got these right there. Now there's a few things that you got to do before you take and just glue these. For one, this is super shiny. You see that reflection? Both sides. So we need to take the side that we are going to end up epoxying to the liner. We need to sand this. So I'm just going to end up using my belt grinder to do this. We're just going to sand this side, and what it does is it kind of gets rid of this glossy layer and it opens up what would be the porous type canvas material. So we're going to take that, we're going to sand on them with a 40 grit belt and get them ready to press onto here. But we're not just going to do that. Sand these, and we're also going to sand these to make sure these are ready, because whenever you cut them, they end up with a ridge on here. And you don't want that on there for whenever you go to glue up, because you're going to end up with voids in there. And the reason why I say you're going to get voids is because whenever you go to clamp these down onto the piece of wood here, you're not going to do a whole bunch of pressure. You're just going to do enough pressure to get them onto there and close the gaps, but you're not trying to squeeze all of the epoxy out of it. And if you really crank down on the clamps, you will squeeze all of it out. That's why whenever you see a lot of people make handle scales, they're just using a ton of the spring-loaded clamps, and that's it, because that's about as much pressure as you need. I don't have any spring-loaded clamps, so I'm going to use regular clamps, and we're just going to go that route. But what we need to do now, we need to sand these pieces right here, get them ready to press. So we're going to hop into that and get that part done real quick and get this section done. Okay, so now it's glove time. I will tell you, it is not easy getting gloves right now. So I don't tend to waste these. I only use them whenever they're necessary. And I'll tell you, you could actually do this without gloves, but once this stuff gets on your hands, it sucks. But what we're gonna end up doing is clamping these pieces onto this piece of wood right here. And I do have a piece of wax paper. Now, one of the viewers actually suggested putting the wax paper on here because I was just running tape strips and then having to rip the tape off of it and all that. Whenever you press this down with the epoxy, all you gotta do is just lift it off as it dries. Or after it dries. Just lift them off. They don't stick to this at all. So what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna use our 5-minute epoxy, which is, we have plenty of time to do what we're gonna do. So the 5-minute epoxy, 4 clamps, and then our pieces that we're gonna put together. Let's go ahead and mix our epoxy. I'll probably time lapse this part. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead, we're going to lay down our bottom pieces. So the vulcanized paper liners. And then we're going to take our sanded sides. Those are going to end up going down on here. But first, we need to go ahead, spread some epoxy on here. We'll put it on here and then come over here. So, whenever I'm doing this, I am doing just a thin coat all the way across this. You do not need a real thick coat. You're just going to end up wasting epoxy whenever it squeezes out. So just enough to coat it, and that's it. For one, because we're going to put epoxy on the other side as well. And I know that I typically time lapse all of this part, but I'm just slowing it down for y'all so that you actually get to see everything. And from what I've read, y'all actually appreciate whenever I do the slower stuff and break it down. So that's what we're doing. And we're not going to time lapse everything on this. Again, if y'all ever feel like I put too much emphasis on certain sections and y'all think I should skip through things, I want to hear it. I love hearing the feedback from things that y'all like. And I'm glad that a lot of these are helping y'all. I know that there's a lot of videos out there that talk about all of this stuff, but not many of the videos actually sit there and break these down, especially per build, because typically what you get whenever you type in knife making or something like that, you get a lot of time-lapse videos or videos that are about 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long, and don't actually break down what you're going to be doing or what they're doing. So you're just looking at it more as entertainment, not as much of an educational experience. And I am by no means, you know, this all-knowing knife maker. There's plenty of knife makers out there that make all kinds of beautiful stuff better than I do. You know, you can watch Walter Sorrells, you can watch all kinds of different channels, and a lot of them have amazing information on them. I am not those channels. I just like to go through this, and as I experience things and as I figure things out, I like to share them with y'all, hoping that you won't have to go through and make the same mistakes that I did in the processes. But I will always say this: mistakes are not failures. Failures are not mistakes. Every single thing that you do is a learning experience. If you mess up, you know what you need to not do the next time. So it's never a failure. It's never a mistake. It's never something that you did wrong and now, you know, you suck at what you do, because failures help you learn. And the reason why I say that is because you have people that are perfect at everything. They don't have to deal with learning through things. And for one, nobody's perfect, but whenever you fail and you break things and accidents happen, you learn from those things so you know what to do better next time. That's the way I live my life. I experience everything. That's the reason why whenever you look at the channel, it's experience, learn, teach, because you have to have the experience before you really start learning. And it's not the experience as in you learn book smarts and then you apply the things. A lot of the times the experiences are the things that you did right, the things that you did wrong, and all of that tailors what you actually learn from the processes, and then you can teach that stuff. I like hands-on experience, learning from the positives and the negatives of those things, and then being able to go, okay, that was the issues, now I know what to do moving forward. So that's just how I live my life. I like to do everything and try it out and figure out what works and what doesn't work, why it didn't work in the first place, what I can do to make things better. And sometimes, you know, it just works out, which is absolutely awesome, but it's not how everything works. Now, all we got to do for these right here is just literally wait for them to dry. They're clamped down, they're even. Show y'all this real quick. So they're just clamped down and even on there. You don't have to have a ton of pressure, but that's how you do this. Whenever these dry, all we got to do is start marking them up and doing all that stuff. We will do that in the next video. So this was the fully broke down version of me doing this, and not all of the time lapse. I think we only had like one little section that was time lapse, and that was mixing the epoxy. But guys, it's this simple for you to be able to make handle scales. If you want to make multiple piece ones with liners all through them, it's the same process as this. You just got to make sure that you're paying attention to the spacing of the liners and make sure things haven't lifted up and raised up. You want to double check, triple check, quadruple check as you're doing these. That's all you got to do. Guys, that is the end of this video. You know, hopefully this is something that y'all have learned from, and hopefully y'all like this process and seeing it broke down like this. If you do, give this video a thumbs up. Now share this video or one of my other build videos that might be your favorite, and think about hitting the subscribe button. Should be right. Hold on, let me get to it. See that guy right there? Hit that button. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified of when we put these on this right here. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. I'll catch y'all next time.